So Trees Forever is Cedar Rapids, are actually technically Marion-based nonprofit organization. We were founded back in 1989, celebrating our 25th year this year. And essentially what we do is we like to work with local communities and local community members to understand and appreciate the value and the benefits that trees provide for us. And we do these types of projects all over the state. We've worked in all 99 counties. We work with thousands of volunteers on an annual basis. And we also do some work in Illinois as well. But this is our home base of operations. That's why I'm really excited to go back out and explore a lot of these early projects, especially of Trees Forever, to really see the impact we've had. Because every time we're doing a planting, we try to get as many folks involved as possible so that knowledge is spreading, so that people identify with the locations that are planted and they take care of them. They notice them more than you would if you weren't involved with putting that tree in the ground. McKinley Middle School on the southeast side of Cedar Rapids is a very historic school. It's one of these beautiful old middle school buildings that we have quite a few of around town still. But back in 1989, interestingly enough, there really weren't a whole lot of shade trees that were installed. I'm sure there were initially when the building was built, but a lot of them had been lost over the years. So we actually worked together with the principal and some of the local elected officials to plant a bunch of shade trees around the property. Both adjacent to the building in order to provide some shade benefits, some reduced energy costs, etc. for the old building, but also to line some of the athletic amenities they have on the property there. There's a track on the back side of the school there, and we planted a line of trees. I say we, it was actually my organization. It was in 1989, so I was only 9 years old. The great thing about doing tree plantings at schools is you're not only providing energy efficiency, like I said, and then enhancing some of the athletic areas, you can also provide a space where teachers have the option to then take their students outside, an outdoor classroom space. We're learning more and more about the benefits that kids are afforded when they get to go outside and spend some time in nature. Even just spending 5 minutes per 4-hour period throughout the school day outdoors, exposed to the green natural environment, can have a tremendous impact on the ability of young minds to be able to focus. Street trees, they have a tremendous impact on the cars that are driving by. So they'll actually affect the way that drivers drive. Planting street trees close to a road surface will automatically cause the driver to slow down just a little bit. And then you can actually, based on the distance that you plant shade trees apart from each other, you can play with a driver's perception, and you can actually make them feel like they're going faster, causing them to slow down a little bit the closer you plant the trees together, while also protecting the pedestrians utilizing that space. That project in particular, I think, really illustrates what can be done with a space that ultimately you're looking at a little cramped space that was shoved between a couple of industrial areas, and then there's a rail line that passes right through it. And the city was smart. They installed a really cool meandering sidewalk system down there, and then they planted, like you said, a lot of flowering trees and then some nice big shade trees to anchor the area, as well as they mulched the area really well and put some nice beds in there to protect the trees. And it's paid off. 20-some years down the road now, we've got a great outdoor space. Shawnee Park was a brand spanking new park basically back in 1989. The same year that Trees Forever kicked off, this was one of our original project sites, and we actually worked with local elected officials, the parks director for the city of Cedar Rapids, and then they invited a bunch of school children from the schools out in this area, the middle school and high schools out in this area. And they came out here. I think there were about 45, 50 kids. And this whole space, there's quite a few mature trees now that you see down in the valleys here and up on the opposite hill from us. And it's quite a sight to see. It's very impactful even for me, and I do this on a daily basis, to see just how much these trees can grow in such a short amount of time. The types of trees that we've seen at the different projects today really are based on the site that we're visiting. The type of tree that you plant, you really want to select based on the type of space you have. And that means taking into account such things as soil quality, the presence or absence of water, so a really highly drained site. Some trees are going to do better in a drier site like that, whereas some trees will do a little bit better in the bottomlands where they might get a little bit wetter. And certainly if you put the wrong species in those locations, they're never going to become a healthy, mature shade tree. And that's really what we're aiming for. We're aiming for these trees to make it as long as they can. One of the big benefits that an organization like Trees Forever is able to provide for communities and for folks that want to plant trees is we can really help them think through some of those harder questions that your average person just wouldn't think about. We've got the experience to do that, and I think that's it's starting to show with a lot of these projects that are starting to really mature and make these sites into something noteworthy.